It's October, guys, and as usual, also in October 2024, everybody is talking about which side he or she is belonging to. Sober October, come over October, or just keep on drinking October. The most important thing is enjoy your favorite drink of choice, have fun with each other, and what could really be the perfect solution for your party in October is one of my favorite trends recently discovered on Instagram. It is so brand new that there is not even a name existing for that, but it's just people bringing their favorite drink to a party, and instead of filling up your swimming pool with water, you fill it up with cans of your favorite drink. We will talk about that in a second, and we will also talk about the banger of the week. One of the most famous premium brands on the planet, LVMH, has invested in an alcohol-free startup. This and much more in our new episode of Pinot Pixel. Enjoy. Welcome to the Pinot Pixel podcast episode number 198. Two more and we have a new anniversary. You know that we want to stay positive in this podcast and wrap up each week on a high note. So let's keep it short and simple, short and concise when it comes to the bad news of the week. We start with the harvest prediction for French wine regions such as Burgundy, Bordeaux, and Champagne. And we have already talked about it. France and also Italy are expecting lower yields, a smaller harvest in 2024. It has been one of the most challenging seasons in decades. So the harvest yields in Champagne are lower than last year. And I mean, talking about the impact, especially of this announcement, the question is always, would it help the industry in France, especially when it comes to the big wine lake we have also in the cellars of Bordeaux and probably not Burgundy, but in France in general? And I mean, Beaujolais belongs to Burgundy as well. Or will it drive the prices in the way we don't want them to go? So it will all depend on how the market will respond to that, how other countries, especially the ones that are in competition with regions such as Bordeaux, especially in the entry level, will react to that, and also how the harvests in those countries, especially Italy and Spain, will go, also driving the bulk market. And there has already been announced that there is a shortage of grapes from Chile, and Chile is one of the countries with the lowest prices. And if they are not able to deliver, this could drive the prices in other countries as well. So we will have an eye on the prices in the future and go directly to the next topic. For the second time after 2023, Italy, especially the region of Emilia-Romagna, has been hit by floods. Very, very severe rainstorms have flooded big parts of the countryside, big parts of the region of Emilia-Romagna, and especially some winemakers who started rebuilding what had been destroyed last year. They were affected again and lost property, lost fields, lost vineyards. And what is worse compared to 2023 is that this time the rain happened during harvest. So even though they have already collected the white grapes, the reds are still on the vines, and they could be affected by disease pressure right now, mildew, rot, gray rot. So you struggle in accessing your vineyard. You have to harvest grapes, probably no people available because they have to do something else because the bad conditions are ongoing. So fingers crossed for Emilia-Romagna for today and also for the future. And the third news, and this is kind of an awkward one. When I first read it, Jura winemaker stunned after Thieves seize his 2024 harvest. I thought he harvested his grapes, he brought them to the winery, and overnight the grapes were stolen or the pressed juice was stolen or something like that. No, he came to his vineyards and discovered that some people stole 800 kilos of his grapes. Some people just harvested overnight and stole his grapes. Isn't that crazy? And I mean, the guy is a young and upcoming winemaker, 40-something years old. It's his first, let's say, steady harvest, his first big harvest of a parcel with only 0.8 hectares. And one morning he arrived at the vineyard and the grapes were gone. And I mean, how crazy is that? Do you know how long it will take you, even though you are not alone, you're not by yourself, you have colleagues with you, to harvest 800 kilos of grapes? I mean, you need a transportation for this as well. You cannot just open the trunk and put it in there. Wow. I don't know if I should say that I'm impressed or just super disappointed by the audacity that some people have. Wow. That's crazy news. I put the link in the show notes. It's not the first time actually that this happened, because last year Thieves made off with around 2,500 kilo of grapes from a vineyard of Catherine Nanou at Domaine de la Loue. I mean, what do you do with the grapes? I mean, of course you will make wine, but somebody will discover that from one day to another you own a ton of grapes. it's so weird, isn't it? Okay. Let's go on to the banger of the week, if not of the month. I have Google Alerts running every single night, 2 or 3 of them only focused on alcohol-free and alcohol-free wine. And 3 days in a row, these notifications were full of the news that LVMH invested in French Bloom, the alcohol-free sparkling wine brand. I chose the article of WinePair. WinePair is not only one of my favorite podcasts when it comes to wine. I mean, I like the style, how they usually write. I like the people behind it, no matter if it's Hannah Stapp or if it's Keith Beavers. It's just amazing people, and they know how to write. I like the way they write. I like the way they work with humor, and sometimes it's a bit sarcastic, but usually they put it on point, and I really like this article. It's called "Will People Shell Out $100 for Booze-Free Bubbles?" Moet Hennessy thinks so. And basically it talks about the opportunity the market offers with alcohol-free products, and LVMH, I mean, it's one of the premium brands on the planet, and they know what they're doing. And last year I predicted that especially the bigger brands, the premium brands, will invest in premium alcohol-free brands. And it's not the first one. Last week we talked about Bicard Salmon and their investment in Jukes, or their partnership with Jukes. And funny enough, the CEO of Bicard Salmon answered to my post on Instagram and said, yeah, well, that's a big thing for us. And I just grabbed my chance to ask him, will there be an alcohol-free product in the future from Bicard Salmon? And he said, it's not planned yet, but this is what we are focusing on with our partnership. And right now, this week, LVMH said we bought a 31% stake in French Bloom. And if you don't know French Bloom is they usually call it a champagne-backed alcohol-free company, because Madame Frégin Tétanger is one of the 2 co-founders behind that. And if you don't know Tétanger is one of the few champagne houses with a very big name, long history, that is still family owned, because many other brands you might know, they belong to big companies, conglomerates, institutions such as LVMH. And maybe they said, okay, we are Tétanger, we have our champagne portfolio, and another line is pushed into the market, I guess also with the support of the network of the Tétanger family, with French Bloom. And French Bloom, I mean, the branding is absolutely amazing. Breaking news with an article published 1 day ago at The Independent in England. And this article says that the French dynasty behind Tétanger Champagne splits over alcohol-free bubbly, meaning that the original owner of Tétanger said, we will never produce an alcohol-free product because alcohol is alcohol. When we go to alcohol, it's because we don't want to drink without alcohol. If you don't want to pray, don't go to church. But Rodolphe Frégin Tétanger, a descendant of the founder of Champagne Tétanger, says, I'm convinced that alcohol-free is the future, and he partnered up with the rival Moet et Chandon because they think that this is the perfect partner for an ongoing future of a successful brand, French Bloom. So there is some war, some kind of family war behind, probably. We don't know. But in the end, this is the real background story behind the investment of LVMH in French Bloom. French Bloom, I mean, the branding is absolutely amazing. It's well made. It's on point. It's premium product. It's a premium product actually. And then they did the move with super premiumization and put a vintage alcohol-free product for 110 euros, something like this, 120 pounds, $120 on top of their portfolio. And it sold out immediately in the markets it was released to. They know what they are doing. And right now, LVMH said, we want a part of that. Give us a piece of cake, of that super cool cake. Let's see if they will answer on the post on Instagram. You're happily invited, my friends. We will see this way more often in the future. Maybe it's tougher in Germany because we have some premium brands when it comes to alcohol free in the German and also in the Austrian market. I was thinking about that hours ago. Who would be able and interested also as a premium brand in the wine industry in Germany to invest in an alcohol free startup? If you have a company in your mind in Germany, let me know. Send an email to podcast@pinotpixel.com. Because in my opinion, especially the big ones, Henkel Freshenet, Rotkäppchen Mumm, there is no super premium approach in their lineup, in their portfolio. So maybe there's other ones. Could it be a thing for Grand Chef de France? I don't think so either. Let me know what you think. Did you know that Tétanger has also been a champagne of choice of James Bond in one of the movies? Usually James Bond is drinking Bollinger, but in that one movie in 1963, From Russia with Love, he said, I'd love to have a glass of Tétanger. And there's another movie where they chose Dom Perignon in that case instead of Bollinger. It was in Goldfinger. And what shall I say? Bollinger made a smart marketing move once again. They mark 60 years of Goldfinger. And what they did is they made a special edition champagne gift set. It's glasses, it's a bottle of a special cuvée, and a really beautiful suitcase or case. It will sit on the shelves for around $4,500, 3,500 pounds. Sounds a lot. There will be 200 available, numbered from 001 to 200, and I guess 007 will be the bottle with the highest value on future auctions and stuff. If you are able to grab one of those bottles, keep them. If you want to enjoy a glass of this bottle, you can have it at the Ritz in London or in the Bollinger Champagne's bar, the 007 in London as well, in the Burlington Arcade. I don't know if it's worth to drink a glass of champagne for 90 quid. I will check it out when I will be in London in a couple of weeks. Probably won't taste it. Nevertheless, this is a really good marketing move. Imagine you have built a brand that has been mentioned in 25 movies of one of the most famous characters on TV screens in the last 60 years, and there is only one movie where your brand wasn't mentioned, and it's the one from 1964, Goldfinger, and you just want to, let's say, clean up the past a bit. So you say, okay, even though we weren't mentioned right now, we celebrate 60 years of Goldfinger, and this is our special edition to put on the market. I just love it. The price is heavy, but I mean, it's super premium. People will talk about it, and for the very deeply rooted hardcore fans, it will definitely be an investment. We stay with premium wines and also talk about some investments in a couple of minutes. We start with the Chilean premium brand called Vic, launched in 2009. And what they did is they changed almost everything. They changed the wrapping of the bottle, they changed storytelling, and they go a new direction when it comes to giving people the feeling what the magic of blends might be. What we can see over here, and if you're just listening, I try to describe it. There's a very beautiful packaging, super premium looking silk paper to cover the small tubes. And it's a box with 3 tubes in it. And in one tube, they have Cabernet Sauvignon. In the second tube, they have Cabernet Franc. And in the third one is the final blend of the 2021 vintage of their, I would say, Bordeaux variety blend, which usually consists of 79% Cabernet Sauvignon, 21 Cabernet Franc. So You can just try the varieties separately and then try the final blend just to get a feeling on how each variety brings their character into the blend and how it would taste separately. And then in addition, they put the story of the owner, the domain. It's well made, guys. It's really well made. It's beautiful. And it breaks a bit with the idea of premium wine only has to be in 750 milliliter bottles with a cork and with a wax capsule and stuff like that. It's just tubes. I'm currently not able to tell you how much A Journey of Perfection, that's the name of the kit, will be. Wasn't able to find the price on the internet. It will be launched in a couple of weeks. But what I could tell you is that they are definitely a premium winery. The guy who founded it when he bought vineyards in, I guess, 2006, if I remember correctly, Alexander Wick, he built a winery, a place, a tasting room. I mean, look at the pictures. It looks like a spaceship in a valley surrounded by mountains, by lakes, a forest. It's just beautiful. And then he built this absolutely amazing architectural, wow. I mean, there is only few wineries in the world that know how to build such wineries, also attracting visitors and people for the tasting room. This is definitely one of the places, so I guess it won't be super cheap to get your hands on Journey to Perfection. We stay with big brands and big names. Lewis Hamilton. We talked about his brand on this podcast, Almave, the alcohol-free alternative to tequila, so a premium non-alcoholic spirit. And there have been rumors that he will drive for Ferrari in the upcoming season. And right now there's even more rumors saying that he will sponsor his own brand with a Ferrari. So can you imagine one of the most successful drivers in Formula One history driving a Ferrari, one of the brands when it comes to cars, and then having his own Almave sticker on the car, seen by millions of people? And in that case, there is it's an authentic connection with a guy in sports, a pro in sports, and then the combination with an alcohol-free product. What shall I say? This is one of the smartest things I've heard. And I mean, we talked about this as well on this podcast. Pernod Ricard recently invested in the tequila brand, so a very big, huge partnership. And one more premium brand that is going in the direction of alcohol-free products. And when it comes to the success and the current figures of brands like Pernod Ricard or LVMH, Diageo, they also feel, because I mean they have big investments in the market, that the wine and spirits category is suffering. They try to push this with investments in Beyonce. They have their focus on the alcohol-free market as well as Lewis Hamilton does, and it's part of the market. If I would be the owner of a big brand, a conglomerate or an institution, I would definitely look out for successful, maybe not only premium, but let's say higher priced alcohol-free brands. Especially when we talk about the perspective on the growth of the alcohol-free market. It is set to grow annually with a CAGR of at least 10% over the next 5 years. And it's growing faster, especially in specific categories such as beer. I guess we will see this in wine as well, and spirits. They had a growth of almost 30% last year only in the US. Focusing on this as a big brand is a really good idea. And talking about successful alcohol-free brands, we have talked about the success of Guinness 0.0. And last week, I tried it again. A friend of mine, JD, also tried it in Ireland. There is a reason why Guinness is so successful when it comes to their 0.0 drink. And I mean, there are several reasons, parameters influencing this. On the one hand, there is this huge culture, this huge pub culture in the UK, and people just love being around with their friends, having a pint of beer. And especially when it comes to the younger customers, they don't care if the product has alcohol or not. They are even focusing more on alcohol-free drinks. And I have never seen more alcohol-free drinks from the tap than in England. They got used to it. Secondly, Guinness is a very, very big, very famous, well-known brand, and everybody recognizes by the branding. Thirdly, they really managed with a very smooth process to stay super close to the original taste. What they do is they use a specific method where they cold filter their beer. So they brew the beer, just a regular Guinness, and then they cold filter it, meaning they use reverse osmosis to get rid of the alcohol, which keeps the mouthfeel, the flavors, the aromas, everything from the original Guinness. So they managed to be super close to the original one. And of course, the fourth part is a strong branding. There were super big investments when it comes to marketing campaigns of the visibility in pubs and sports events. Premier League, we talked about that. They just did everything right. And right now, and this is what I love the most, it's a quote from the article, Guinness 0.0 isn't just for the sober crowd. It's part of a more flexible drinking experience where consumers can choose or moderate depending on the occasion. And this is what I love because it brings on point what we all should have in our minds when we talk about alcohol-free products. Over the last 2 weeks, I gave some seminars, some tastings to customers, to B2B people, to training staff from clients on alcohol-free products. And of course, there is this natural skepsis and also some prejudices on the category itself. And especially when you have your beer brain or your wine brain, because you love high quality wine or beer, and you bring it to an event or just into this space of alcohol-free products, it won't work that way. You need some tolerance, you need some empathy, and you also need some understanding, and maybe you have to taste 2 or 3 more. Because when your palate is trained just on wine, just on beer, you need another palate. It's like drinking young wine and aged wine. It's just, you need a different palate for that maybe. And especially the Gen Zers, they are not used to the taste of alcohol. Following surveys with people at the age of 16 to 25, depends on the country, but usually between 30 and 50% say they are not interested in drinking alcohol. They don't like the taste because it's bitter, and they have in their mind that it might be affecting their health. They don't want to drink alcohol. This is what we should keep in mind. It's more about offering an alternative, a good alternative. Nobody wants to take away your alcohol out of your life. If you want alcohol to be part of your life, you can have that, you can enjoy that, but please do not try to push people in the way that they have to drink alcohol. Take this mindset right now. You go to a party, and usually when you go to the party, you're invited to a party, the people who are organizing the party, they offer the drinks. There is a trend going on, and I really love that trend. It's so new that there is not even a name existing for that. But imagine you're invited to a party, and the organizer of the party has a small swimming pool in the garden. Everybody brings his or her favorite drink and just puts it into the swimming pool, which then is filled up with water and ice cubes. I love the idea. And I mean, of course, if you want to separate between drinks with and without alcohol, you could offer 2 swimming pools. There is even a trend, bring your own swimming pool to a party. When you have a big garden, everybody's coming with his own small swimming pool. And maybe it's a bit crazy and unusual, especially in Central Europe. Maybe it's a thing in the US. But this is a super cool idea. I love that. It's about sharing. It's about tasting different stuff so you can break out of your, let's say, drinking comfort zone. I really love the idea, and I would definitely introduce that to my next party. Coming from trends and alcohol-free products, drinking moderately, it's actually a good transition to the next topic, the wines of New Zealand. They have published their annual report on the wine industry in New Zealand, and I love reading those papers because they're full of data, they're full of interpretation, and what I also like, especially when it comes to New Zealand and their papers, it's not super optimistic and it's not super pessimistic. They try to stay as objective as possible. And of course, sometimes people think they might have some problems, and subjectively they try to turn it in a more positive way. I guess most of companies do that when it comes to reporting. Just to wrap this up, to give you an idea, the New Zealand wine industry has been very successful over the last 10 years. And especially what I have experienced so far, they really know how to do marketing, communication. They had a huge campaign. I had an interview with Charlotte Reed last year, Altogether Unique, about the idea of bringing people together from the wine industry, for the people who love wine, and try to focus on premium products. Let's put it like this. And they also have a super cool and very focused, sustainable approach in New Zealand. And they have been growing each year. The people, the world was interested in products, in wines from New Zealand. And 4 episodes ago, I had the interview with Gießen Wines with the head winemaker, Jeremy Todd. And he also said, generally, people are more and more interested in it. Of course, people drink less, they want to drink better. And this is where we come into play and we offer a wide range of products. And when you have a look at this report, just to sum this up for you, they had a record in 2023-24 of 42,000 hectares in area under vine, coming from over 40,000. Over 3/4 of that is Marlborough. So Marlborough alone is over 30,000 hectares, resulting in 395,000 tons of grapes. 3/4 belong to Sauvignon Blanc. So when it comes to wine in New Zealand, we talk about Marlborough and we talk about Sauvignon Blanc. 3/4 is this focus. They saw an export decline by 12%, and the main drivers is in generally the biggest export markets are the US, the UK, and Australia, and they were also the three ones with the biggest decline in 2023. And then you start researching on that, you read news, and you discover news such as the one I read at Miningers. The crisis is hitting New Zealand. And when you read this report, they don't talk about a crisis. It's just the attempt of an interpretation as objective as possible. And when you have a look just on the export graph, because many of them in the news were complaining about the exports. When you look at the export graph, the exports have been growing steadily from 2015 up to 2024. You can just draw a line and you still see a rise in exports. There was just a huge spike in 2023, resulting, of course, in a decline of 12%, but they rose over 15% 1 year ago. And there were some reasons that drove this spike. And one of the main things, reportedly, is the problem of Australia getting their wines to China. We talked about this. They introduced the tariffs on Australian wine. And one of the biggest importers of New Zealand wine is Australia. And when Australia struggles in selling their wines to China, they just stuck on it and they have to drink it on their own. So they were importing less and less over the last 2 to 3 years, trying to sell their own wine to the domestic market. And this was also one driver for the New Zealand exports. And we want to just have a look on the numbers of export sales. The US had a decline of 10%, the UK at 13%, and Australia had almost 20% in decline, from 69,000 liters to 57,000 liters. What is a bit weird is when you have a look on the Australian wine marketing annual report of 2024, they claim when it comes to imports from other countries that New Zealand, compared from 2022, coming from around 50, had a decline to 2023 of 2%. And then I was like, this cannot work. And I don't know why there is this difference. I wasn't able to figure that out, but I guess the truth is somewhere in between. What I wanted to say is that still New Zealand is on the rise. People are interested in the wines. They are focusing on high quality. They have a really good sustainable approach. And I would never talk about the crisis hitting New Zealand. I guess it's this movement at the moment in the wine industry where everybody is complaining about the decline in sales, the decline in consumption. But we have to live with that. We have to adapt. There is a change going on and not everybody is interested in drinking a bunch load of wine anymore. So premium wine, high quality wine at a very affordable price level. This is what people will get more and more interested in. And New Zealand, in my opinion, is definitely filling that gap. We talked about Hungary last week. We talked about Portugal. Those are countries you have to have an eye on because they offer really good price value. And still, it's the same with Austria, with Germany. Sometimes they're even too cheap They could offer higher prices, in my opinion, especially when it comes to quality wine, but sometimes they are afraid of raising the prices because they think customers would just leave and go to the neighbors or so. This won't happen. We definitely should try to clean up our wine market a bit, especially in Austria and in Germany. Talking about Germany, 2 weeks ago, you heard it on the podcast, on this podcast for the first time, and now it became a thing in Germany. Maybe the owners of Edeka were listening to this podcast. I have no clue. Dating. Dating in supermarkets found its way to Germany. There is an Edeka in Bayern which is offering pink baskets, and the pink one symbolizes that you are single and you are looking for someone to date. It sounds a bit like it was his own idea, and I can't tell you if he was just sitting in his chamber and saying, maybe this could work. I guess there were some role models he discovered, maybe in Spain or so, and during the documentary of Antenne Bayern, it's a quite famous German radio station, there were only 2 people meeting each other in the supermarket with a pink basket. Maybe it's not super viral at the moment, but it's definitely gaining traction also in Germany. So if you are looking for someone to date and you're tired of swiping left and right in Bumble and Tinder and so, just go out in the real world and look for people who are smiling, who are happy, and maybe who are just carrying pink baskets. We stay in the world of supermarkets and retail. Prototyped at ProWine 2023, reusable wine bottles are now officially introduced to the German market. What does this mean? Edeka Südwest, so focused on the southern part of Germany, is the first food retailer to include wine in reusable bottles in their portfolio. And the companies behind that are responsible for almost 5% of the whole wine production in Germany. And a second company that hasn't been named yet is also interested in introducing those reusable bottles. So this is the first attempt, the new attempt of introducing a reusable bottle system to the German market for wine, because it's working for beer, it's working for sodas, for alcohol-free products. It's not working for wine. And hopefully there is a chance for it in the future. I mean, there were some small amounts of bottles, especially when it comes to liter bottles. Right now, this is the usual wine bottle, 750 milliliters. And right now, after 1.5 years of meetings, of maybe development as well, they are introduced to southern Germany's supermarkets. For the last 2 ones, we are closer related to England. First of all is a report, an article on the supermarket Waitrose, the chain Waitrose, that trials a natural cork return scheme. And this is super exciting because usually when you use a cork for a bottle of wine, you use it once and then you throw it away. They're quite expensive. They can be up to €1 per cork, depending on the quality and, of course, also the amount of corks you order at your winery or through your winery. And some people were thinking, are we able to reuse the material, the cork material? And right now they are trialing a system together with Almave. Almave is the biggest cork producer in the world, responsible for, 80% of the cork production of the world in Portugal. And they will collect corks for 1 year in the supermarkets, return it to Almave, and they will try to find some ways to reuse the cork for, material for living rooms, flooring, for shoes, soy milk, stuff like that. And maybe I was thinking about the Diam's cork, because if you don't know the difference, usually you use a natural cork for wine bottles, which is one piece of a cork, of the cork tree, of the cork oak. And then there's another one, Diam. And Diam basically is pressed cork. So you have thousands of tiny little pieces of cork that are glued together with a natural glue and pressed. The good thing about Diam is that you can measure if this is cork tainted or not, what is way tougher with the natural cork. And imagine you have natural cork and you just grind it and then you try to reuse it for Diams. It sounds super interesting to me, actually. I don't know if you are able to clean used cork so you can reuse it in the wine industry, but at least there is the idea of reusing cork. And especially when you know that it takes 7 to 8 years for one oak tree, for one cork oak to grow the cork. It might be super interesting also seen through the eyes of sustainability. And last but not least, there is a Brit entering, hijacking almost, the celebrity corner of the week. And this time we're not talking about drinks, we're talking about food and maybe something in between. Bayern Munich striker Harry Kane invests in a Munich oat company. There is a company called Three Bears, a startup that is offering porridge and oatmeals. And Harry Kane, I mean, he has been part of the team of Bayern Munich for over 1 year right now. He's an investor. He's not only invested in this company, he has quite a big list of investments he has already done. And this is the brand new one, talking about Three Bears in Germany. And I mean, this is also an investment I totally understand, where I would say it's authentic, it's closely related, that you are a sportsman, a striker playing for Bayern Munich, and you invest in a local company that is offering oatmeals for, I mean, also for the normal person, but also for sportsmen and women. And this is logical to me. It's authentic. It feels like it's a good deal. And it's also a good combination because it's healthier than the other stuff some people might usually have for breakfast. I watched this reel on Instagram and TikTok. I saw it first on TikTok, where Harry Kane, it's kind of it was the video for the product launch, and he entered the office of Three Bears and they were trying to act like he surprised them. The video was funny, but not super funny. It felt scripted, but in the end, if it works out for Three Bears, this is super cool. Especially startups like this offering the healthier way of eating or then drinking on the other side. When we talk about alcohol-free products, they need a push. They need more visibility. And especially with people like him, this could definitely work out. So good luck for Three Bears, for Harry Kane, for his investment as well. I wish you an absolute fantastic weekend. Enjoy the last days of Oktoberfest if you are in Munich or somewhere else, because I guess everybody is celebrating Oktoberfest at the moment. See you next week on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.